Yes, Bix, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay. I think something's cleared up. I think we're good. I don't know what happened, man.
It happens every time.
Dude, it's crazy, bro. I'm like, here we go. Last week it's Kirby, now it's you. It's just like they don't want nobody to talk. Let me see what's going on with the live team over here. Can you folks hear us?
I think it's working.
Okay, good. And if you could mute your computer on the back end, so it could be just on the because I'm hearing feedback.
You still get it?
Nope, perfect.
All righty.
All right, man. Let's rock and roll, folks. All right, I apologize for the craziness. I mean, I started getting worried. I mean, last week we had Rob Kirby on and nothing could be done, and this week, we got Bix on. Seems like every time the Guerrilla goes live with somebody important and we got a lot to talk about and connect to, the line goes dead. But so without any further ado, Bix, take it away, man, before they screw with us again.
It is crazy these days. But everything I'm watching, everything I'm looking at, tells me that the good guys are winning, and we are taking down these banksters who have controlled and destroyed our lives for so long. Yeah. Right now, I think the market manipulation is pretty much over, but there's a difference between market manipulation, where these bad guys are out there trying to screw everybody, and then there's official market management. That's what we are in the middle of still, and it is completely legal on the side of the Treasury and the Fed. What they do is they got their what's it called, the Exchange Stabilization Fund, 1934. It authorized the Exchange Stabilization Fund through the Gold Reserve Act to deal in gold and foreign securities, and then foreign exchange. And then in 1970, they amended it and included all financial securities. All financial securities means any tradable financial asset. So basically everything. Mm-hmm. They have complete lawful, they're above the law, that they can, it's actually in their job description. If you read the Working Group on Financial Markets presidential order back in 1988,
yeah,
the executive order that Reagan wrote right before he left office, it authorizes the head of the Fed, the head of the Treasury, the head of the CFTC, and the head of the SEC to do the two things. One is to maintain market stability and orderliness. Mm-hmm. And two is to maintain investor confidence. What are they doing now? They are scrambling to keep all these balls in the air, because they've been rigging the market for so long and the prices are so way out of whack that they have to control it. They have to maintain this market stability through market manipulation and rigging of the prices. And it's easy to do with computers and derivatives. As far as, all my guys like to follow silver and what's going on with that, because they know that's the canary in the coal mine. That's the biggest undervalued asset in the history, basically. Mm-hmm. And where we are on the COMEX, which is, futures and options of silver, right now there's this huge scuttlebutt about the commercial net short position. So it's usually the way the game is played for the last 50 years is that the commercials will, as the price of silver rises, the commercials will short into the rise to get it up and draw on all these weak hands, and everybody's going long who doesn't have the power to rig the market. And then they slam it down with a couple big sales, and the price comes crashing down, and they start all over again on the bottom side. They'll rig it lower and lower, and then they'll start loading up when people start bailing. It's the same game back and forth. It's what traders do. That's what they're conditioned to do. But these traders do it on a massive scale with computers and derivatives. Where they are right now on the COMEX is they have a net short, the largest net short ever, which is above 90,000 contracts, which is like 450 million ounces of electronic silver that they're short. So everybody's expecting this gigantic slam down, because they always do and they always have. Here's the problem. They're not getting it. They're trying to do it, but it's not happening. There's some large entity, let's say the Working Group on Financial Markets, maybe, the head of the Fed and the head of the Treasury, not letting it happen this time. So then what are these guys going to do? You got your net short commercial position of 450 million ounces. If they have to cover, that means they got to go into the COMEX and buy long contracts to cover their shorts. Well, who's going to be the seller? If the game truly is over,
yeah,
who's going to be the seller? They've got all their guys are net short, and for every dollar that silver goes up, they're losing $450 million.
mm-hmm.
And for every $10 silver goes up, they're losing $4.5 billion. And remember, silver is at $17, which is, what is that? That's 35% of its all-time highs.
Yes.
Whereas gold is trading at 110% if you count the 1980 high. So there's a massive disconnect. And gold and silver are completely different. I know that everybody loves to say, I own gold and silver, and they're both monetary metals. Yeah, but there's a huge problem, and that problem is all the silver that's been mined has been swallowed up in flat screen TVs and cell phones, and all the gold that's been mined is still out there. So you're looking at a gigantic disconnect between the price of silver and the availability of silver, and the price of gold and the availability of gold. Now, I think gold will go a lot higher.
Right.
Still, but I do think there's massive amounts of gold out there that the banks and the governments are not telling us about.
Right.
And I've proven that, through many articles, and same with silver. I think the opposite is true for silver. I think there's a lot less silver. You don't hear a lot about, silver, like gold. You hear about, Yamashita's gold and the Nazi gold and gold in the Grand Canyon and gold at Chaco Mountain. There's gold conspiracy stories everywhere. With silver, you had the silver that was used in the making of the first atom bomb. That was all pulled out in the late 90s. And
how much silver was used in that atom bomb again? I remember you saying it was.
Well, it wasn't in the atom bomb. It was in these things called calutrons, which are gigantic
calutrons,
magnets.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's a couple. The guy Greaves, General Greaves, who wrote the book after. It's a book called Now It Can Be Told. Who told all about how there was a secret city that they built to build the atom bomb and things like that. We couldn't tell the Nazis. According to him, they borrowed, I think it was 450 million to 500 million ounces of silver from the U.S. Treasury. But remember, this is the 1940s, and that much silver was huge back then. I mean, now we think of, you look at the COMEX and they trade over 350 to 400 million ounces of electronic silver every single day. That's how ridiculous that is. But yeah, it was a huge thing. And just think about it, that those calutrons ran from the 1940s all the way to the 1990s, purifying uranium or whatever they were doing in their process. And then in the 1990s, the silver shortage was so bad they had to tear these things down. And it's all in the USGS documentation on how many silver exports we have. Because in the mid 90s, they exported massive amounts during these 4 years that they were tearing down the calutrons. So everything is pointing towards now. Don't go piling into silver derivatives. This is a physical game. The winners are going to be physical, not electronic, because they can set the electronic price at anything they want, at any time they want. So the problem is all the silver price you see now recorded by the MSNBCs of the world. That's COMEX silver, the electronic futures and options. Now they can say, it's also the LBMA, which is ridiculous because they trade the same amount supposedly of physical silver, except it's not an exchange. It's an association. So it's not a real market. And they just make up these numbers and hand them out to people.
Yeah, exactly. They're just exchanging contracts.
Yep. So there's my start. There's my kickoff. How was that?
Yeah, that's a great kickoff, man. Well, that is a great kickoff. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, the last 2 days, we've seen the beatdown in silver, man. It's
well, this is nothing. Try, I don't know if you rode the wave from 25 up to 50 and then 50 back to 20.
Yes.
That was completely done by Bill Daley, who J.P. Morgan put as Obama's chief of staff in 2011. I documented day to day what he was doing to drive the price up and drive the price down. It was all part. I call it Operation Silver Slam by J.P. Morgan.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The last few days it was like I wake up at like, oh, well, if I'm up or whatnot, you see it at 2 a.m. in the morning, boom, here comes the algos kick in, and there down goes silver $1, $1.50, every
But they,
single time.
but the key there, which you can see in the commitment of traders report and the bank participation report from the CFTC, is that these large net commercial shorts are not covering.
No,
Normally they'll slam it down and it'll go down $3 or $4 and they'll be able to cover half their short position, then they'll drive it up. The problem now is, and all the data is showing it, that they haven't covered. Either they're planning a bigger and bigger and bigger slam, or they're in some deep trouble. And I believe, through the road to rooter work that I've done through the Fed Boston documents, that the in game of fiat money and the US dollar and all the manipulation that's gone on is to destroy the dollar. And then we win because we're the largest debtor nation. And you can tell by what the US is doing, running up debts beyond, there's no nation in the history of nations has ever paid off debt. They've always, printed so much money or devalued their gold or silver coins such that they default on the debt. And I don't even think this will count as a default, because this kind of money has never been seen before. Electronic money. I wouldn't call it a fault. I would say things would just kind of stop. You get a bank like Deutsche Bank, which is wobbling, and their stock has fallen again in the last week, and there's some derivative problems that they have that they just cannot get out of. And
just a little bit of derivative problems, Bix.
Well, I was talking to a friend, and they're going, well, what is it? What kind of derivatives do they have problems with? And I think there's a lot of correlation going on between Deutsche Bank and one of their largest commodity traders, Glencore, and they're in bed together, and they have been, and that's one of the things. And Glencore is, that's Mark Rich's old shyster company and the largest commodity company in the world, along with Noble Group and Trafigura. Trafigura is private. I don't know if Noble Group is private or public, but they just fired their top 5 oil traders, and 3 of them went over to Glencore because these guys all collude together. But there's serious problems going on there, and Deutsche Bank, the largest derivative holder in the world, with 50 plus, on their books they show 50, but the rumors are there's over 75 trillion.
Correct.
Or quadrillion or quintillion. Nobody really knows how much they have. But that's huge. And I think that is the big one. But there's also, they're a huge player in the derivative market for credit default swaps out of the European nations. They thought there was be no way that Greece or Italy or Spain or Portugal would default on their debt. And we're seeing it in Puerto Rico right now. How many credit default swaps went off in that debacle? So everything's kind of coming the way that the way that we wanted to, the way we needed to. We need the collapse to clear these bad guys out and start fresh.
Right. Exactly. I mean, there has to be a purge. Absolutely, man. Hey, you kind of detailed on Glencore and Noble and Mark Rich. Why don't you flesh that out for the listening audience who so they can make the connection there of what that's all about.
Okay. Mark Rich started off in the 70s. He's huge, the biggest oil and gas trader back then. But he was part of setting up the petrodollar with Kissinger in the early 70s with the Saudi Arabia deals. That was the idea of how to support the dollar. Is we'd buy the oil from Saudi Arabia, they take the US dollars and recycle them through. You got to remember that the oil industry, oil is the largest commodity bought and sold around the world. You need trillions of US dollars to support that industry because we require everybody to buy oil in US dollars. Oh, we did. And the reason we did that is that it gave us the ability to print more and more US dollars because everybody had to have reserves in US dollars if they wanted to buy any oil. Right. So that was the game. Mark Rich was knee deep in that game. He also he would deal in oil through Iran when there's sanctions. He was the dark horse. He didn't really have a country. he was Jewish, but he immigrated to the U.S., changed his name from Mark Reich, R-I-C-H, to Mark Rich because it sounded more, Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah.
But there's a great book called Metal Men. If you want to see the seedy underbelly of commodities, read Metal Men. Anyway, Mark Rich started this huge company, I think it was Mark Rich and Associates or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They split it off after he was indicted like 50 counts from the FBI because they wanted to take him down, and he fled the U.S. and lived in Switzerland for the remainder of his life. He died in the 2000s, but he split his company into 2 to 3. All the traders kind of went to different companies so they can trade back and forth. So there was Glencore, which was the main one, which is a publicly traded company, and then there was Trafigura, which is kind of the shady private company. The head of Trafigura and all the head traders with Mark Rich moved into the head traders of these companies. So that's how the game worked, and we're talking about the physical side of commodity manipulation. They also are gigantic derivative players, and they'll rig the supply demand side of metals and of commodities, and then they'll go play the game with leverage on the derivative side. So they'll hide all. There was just an article in Reuters or Bloomberg or something just yesterday talking about how Glencore has this gigantic position in physical oil. It's stored in all these tankers, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, they could sell it and the market could go down." Or what are they trying to do? Are they trying to get people into the game? I think it's a takedown of them, and it was a ploy because I think they're massively short oil in the derivative side. And I can tell that because certain people within the good guys within the government that I keep an eye on are all of a sudden saying, "Hey, the oil supply demand problem is kind of going away. Oil should go up." The EIA, the energy announcement about how many reserves the U.S. had this surprise drawdown this week, and the price of oil goes up. They can rig the numbers to go against Glencore's position if they want to take Glencore down. And you can see by Glencore's stock price that it's dumping along with Deutsche Bank. So much going on in the background. I wish I was a fly on the wall, but you don't need to be a fly on the wall if you're working for the working group on financial markets and you're the head of the CFTC. You have access to all that data. You know who's long, who's short, and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And especially this whole Canadian fire business that's going on in Alberta, I'm sure does not help.
Well,
it helps to bring.
You wonder why they shut down everything pretty much, and it's like, okay, why did they? And it started right when the price of oil, was in the mid-30s, and now it's moving up, and all the good guys, as I call them, were basically trying to drive the price of oil up. So right now the push is upwards for the good guys. They're trying to target these takeouts. And it's not just the commodities. You can go, a lot of the hedge funds are being targeted by Congress and things like that. And they're trying to, I don't think it'll work. They're trying to target the bad guys and surgically remove them without destroying the system. Mm-hmm. I think you do have to destroy the system. There's way too much money out there in the wrong hands in black pools, as they call it, of like trillions of dollars that have been sucked out of the system and sit with the bad guys. So the only way to ever get back to an even playing field and stop all this market management or market manipulation is to wipe the slate clean. That's exactly what is I would say suggested by the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston and their stuff. Alan Greenspan suggested that in his book, and he's the guy who invented electronic money in the first place back in the 60s. So it's all kind of coming down to, will it be a slow burn taking out these bad guys, or will it be some quick Band-Aid thing and all of a sudden everybody's shut out of their accounts?
I think it'd probably be they've been slow burning this thing for a while, man. I think we're getting close to the end of this whole entire story.
I'm ready. You're ready.
Yeah, totally. I just want this thing to be done with. I want to see these guys hang from lampposts, man. I really do.
Well, there's another angle to this that these good guys are, they're trying to save the United States, basically. They
Yes.
know that if they let the system go the way it is and Clinton gets in, you can kiss it all goodbye.
Oh yeah, she's going to do an LBO, man, a leveraged buyout of the United States by every corporate conglomerate on the planet.
Well, I was heartened to see today that the news has started to talk about one of their shady dealings with this woman that their charitable fund gave $2 million to, and it's all connected to Bill Clinton's latest secret lover, who happens to be connected to this guy Jeffrey Epstein. Have you heard of that guy?
Yep. Jeffrey Epstein.
Wow. What a scary
scum of scum.
Well, I think he was in charge of setting up all the congressmen with their 12-year-old hookers.
Yes, he's
flying them on their planes to his secret island for their misdeeds.
Yep, Epstein, and he's also tied in with that sick bastard out in London who died, Seville.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to take a baseball bat. A cricket bat to his head.
But these guys, it's a sign that everybody knew about it, but now it's being talked about. Yeah. That's a sign that the good guys are winning. And these secrets. There's a book coming out supposedly next week called, it's like Confessions of an Economic Hitman, except it's called Confessions of Congressman X.
Ooh.
And supposedly, and they're not saying who the congressman is, but he's gonna, kind of spit out some shit on what goes on in Congress.
Nice.
Which I think is all part of the plan. Why they're delaying is they don't want to destroy the United States. They want to destroy the two political parties that kind of control things, the evil part of the Republican Party and the evil part of the Democratic Party, and the people who control both of them from behind. They're trying to get rid of those people.
Right, exactly. And the key is to do it surgically. Like when you're cutting out a tumor, you don't want to go in there and start hacking out arteries and blood vessels. You want to be as ginger as possible, because one of the things that these dirty low-down bastards have done with their credit default swaps, their collateralized debt obligations, their interest rate swaps, and every other various forms of derivatives that you and I could possibly even conceive or imagine, they've intertwined it to so many assets. And there's a paper claim to everything out there. And you're right, man. The key is right now just to surgically remove these turkeys. And you know what? If this thing's gonna blow, let it blow, and there's going to be a purge. At least the stupid people, at least the idiots will be done away with.
It's absolutely true, and I do think they're doing kind of delaying the things for the presidential election, which we'll talk about in a second, to have some time to gel a little bit. But ultimately, they do plan on a big collapse, because I would just look at when the Dodd-Frank Act was passed and Citibank wrote into the law that the derivative books have to be paid out before the individual like savings account and checking account, and all that. That is in the law now, that the FDIC has to pay out trillions, quadrillions in derivatives, which is impossible.
Yeah.
But what it does do, and why they allowed it, it would ensure the total collapse.
Yep. It would.
I think that things like that are going on.
You know the big question is, and I know you think about this as well. You and I both know about the dark pools, and one of the things that you've said this before, and Kirby has also said it before, and a few other guys. All that dark dollars that are sopped up, basically sucked up by the ESF, all the dumped treasuries. Man, I wonder what they're going to do with all of that. I mean, because I know what. Go ahead.
I think your mindset is in the framework of that the electronic money is real.
Oh, right. It's not real. Correct.
When you take your mindset out of that, and bingo, problem solved. When one of these big banks goes down, Deutsche Bank will probably be first, and then it'll bring down all the other banks.
Oh, Deutsche is the biggest domino of this whole thing.
But the assets are not real; they're electronic IOUs.
Right.
There's everything's got a credit that has to stand up to it. Like even the Federal Reserve note has to have a Federal Reserve to be able to stand up to the credit. Now, the Federal Reserve has the luxury of being able to print money at will, or kind of at will. They're supposed to do it with congressional oversight. But I think that'll be taken away, and the Fed even talks about that in some of their secret documents that I've uncovered, that they do plan to be soaked up into the U.S. Treasury when the end game hits.
Didn't Kashkari write some stuff about that?
Oh, that guy.
Neil Kashkari with his bushy eyebrows.
Do you know who that guy is? He's an ex-computer expert. He's a computer rigger. It's amazing how many of these guys come from a computer background and then get put in these spots where he's ex-Goldman Sachs and he did the TARP and all that, and now he's the head of the Minnesota Fed.
The Minnesota Fed, right?
And this guys like that who have enabled these bad guys to do their deeds. I don't know if he's the guy who kind of started it or anything. I don't think he was, but he definitely knows what's going on and definitely enabled the rigging of the system through his computer programs. That guys like that, I have no mercy for when time comes to drag people in front of the American public and say, okay, this is what this guy did. Here's how it affected you, and what do you think we should do to him?
Right.
And there's going to be a lot of that. It's going to happen to the bankers. It's going to happen to the congressmen. I think it's kind of already started, with all these revelations coming out about the corrupt Congress. It's going to happen to the people in charge of the political parties. It's going to happen to the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and all those guys. Everybody's going to have a come to Jesus moment where they sit in front of a jury and be tried for their crimes.
Right, exactly. And it's from what I've heard. I've speaking with you before the show started, and then we had our computer glitch out of nowhere, and nobody could hear anything. But it's like I mean, there's been so far 3 Rothschilds have been knocked off. One of them's been hanged.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, it's so I'll get you the names on that, man. But there are moves being done in the back end, and that's the whole deal. I mean, people are so petrified because you got all sorts of people out there in alt media that are like, it's basically it's the end of the world. It's they're waiting for the seven buckets and the 7 trials. Yeah, man. Calm down, folks. This is history.
I think. I mean, all that is one of the potentials and one of the possibilities.
Right.
I mean, you can easily run a scenario where the bad guys win. They get their one world currency. They knock off 80% of the population, and they go about their business. I don't think that's going to happen. As a matter of fact, I'm doing everything I can to make sure it doesn't happen. And so are a lot of people behind the scenes. And there's so many signs and things that I watch that are just proving to me that the good guys not only are winning, but they've already won.
Exactly.
And now it's just the slow implementation of a gradual transition.
Yeah, exactly.
So slow.
Dude, it's like the mop-up team. That's what it's just the mop-up team. They're just coming in and sweeping it up right now, man.
Well, I think the mop-up team will come up after the crash. Right,
exactly. But
I do think, and the crash might not be, a Dow 17,000 down to 5,000. The crash might be the Dow stops trading at 17,000.
Exactly.
And the banks no longer function, so there's no trades that can be transacted, and people kind of forget about the electronic promises because all the electronic promises have been broken.
And that's when every Fred, Dick, and Harry will call the Comex. I want my delivery.
You can't, but they will. The comics won't even be there.
No, there won't.
The thing that scares me the most, and I think the U.S. is trying to do something about this, is the end of the just-in-time delivery system. I mean, think about how many. What is it? They say it's 2 days. Stores keep 2 days worth of stuff if nobody charges the store and demands more.
Right.
I mean, if you freeze up the monetary system. You're freezing up. Will there even be communications and electronics going if the mechanism for that? I mean, everybody needs to get paid for the functions to work, for the power to go on, for the water to go. How is that all going to happen? Now, mind you, I believe they've been planning on this transition since the 70s, and I've heard many reports of a plan in place. It keeps being altered and changed, but they know it's coming. And the question is, who's going to pull the final lever, or who's going to press the red button, or as I like to say, who's going to click that mouse that destroys everything? Not the world, not the physical world, but the electronic debts and assets. And that's the best thing for America. 99.9% of Americans are in debt. It might be a home mortgage, or it might be just credit card debt. It might be our national debt. It might be our world runs off debt. And the moment this crash happens, all the debt goes away. But all the electronic assets go away as well.
Yeah, exactly. And which is a great thing. And we go back from being a phantom casino economy into an actual physical economy, and maybe we'll start getting into.
We could, if that's what we choose. But it's going to be up to us and the current deciders. The people who are screwing up the system right now, like Kashkari, those won't be the kind of people who are going to make that decision.
Right, exactly. I agree with that, man. I think it's all about who controls the conversation on the other side of this. And so far, we're winning on that end.
I believe we are, and the news media obviously will have to be changed out. I mean, I don't blame any newscasters because they just read their teleprompter.
Right.
But you got to blame them a little bit for reading this stuff and taking the paycheck from the man, knowing that it's complete bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm gonna miss Bill O'Reilly, man. That's for sure.
I can't name. I mean, you watch RT News, maybe you get some truth coming out of there.
Basically, it's the only one. I mean, it's amazing. I'm flipping through CNN. They're talking about Justin Bieber. I'm flipping through like MSLSD. They're talking about, I don't know, some cat stuck in a tree. I'm flipping through like Fox News, and it's just nonsense, man. And then you flip to RT, and they're talking about like Bill Gates and vaccine scandals and GMOs. I'm like, what the hell? That's amazing.
I miss those days of the new big news story being the cat stuck up in the tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we got the Kardashians, but remember the 50s? It was the cat stuck up in the tree.
It is now. It's Bruce Gender. He's having regrets of transition.
We don't want to go there. No. Move on.
Let's move on. Let's go.
or the thing that I think is the most bizarre thing in the world, the transgender bathroom thing.
Oh my God, dude! I mean,
you heard about that?
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous, bro.
I mean, what is this world coming to? And I do think it's part of the plan to show the people how ridiculous our government is, by the federal government coming down to say this is in schools, requiring schools to get their funding. Came out today. The Obama administration will hold back funding on schools if they don't allow transgender kids to choose their bathroom.
It's the most stupidest, asinine thing in the world. And there's a video.
You're pissing off our whole population, and I think you might be doing it on purpose. Just to get people riled up and say, get these freaks out of here.
Seriously, man, it's really coming down to that level. It's unbelievable. I just posted a video on my Facebook. It's hilarious, man. It's like a couple of guys walking around, I think University of Washington or something like that. They're asking the students, what's the big deal about the gender identity, and they were just clueless. They were just like, I guess it's okay, and well,
I got no problem with the gender identity. That's fine. I think the individual should have the right to do whatever they want to do,
right?
As long as it doesn't affect anybody else. That's the way our country was set up,
right?
And we weren't set up as a democracy that can, the majority gets to decide, how you live your life. That's not the way the U.S. was set up.
No, correct. Absolutely. That's the democracy's two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. Ben Franklin said it best.
And I do think Ben Franklin had invented that slogan for the I think he invented it before the American Revolution, but it was the join or die. Remember that cartoon with the snake split up into different pieces? I have a feeling, as we transition to another discussion, I have a feeling that there is a plan behind the scenes by the good guys to get both Trump and Sanders alienated by their respective parties and get people so mad that you have a Trump-Sanders ticket that runs against the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And here's what I think, and I know people are very polarized on both of these issues.
Now it's getting real juicy, bro. You're gonna have to leave this one out.
I get it. So Trump was always kind of a Democrat with libertarian tendencies, and decided to run for president as a Republican because it's like Ron Paul. You had to run as a Republican to get any votes at all and to get in front of the media.
Right.
Bernie Sanders, same thing. He was an independent with kind of libertarian ideals. And and socialist. But they run in these parties, and then they both start saying completely kind of outrageous things, like Bernie talking about socialism and, hey, we should be socialist. Trump saying, all his craziness, build a wall and don't let any Muslims in the country. And what they're doing is they're getting both sides of the far left and the far right. Now, I don't think either of them think that they have to be that extreme, but I think they had to be that extreme to get to where they are. And there are rumors that the Republican National Committee at the convention are somehow going to try to oust Trump with some rule change. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if something happens such that Trump and Sanders, or even just Sanders, is out hanging out, not affiliated with the party, I think there's a huge chance that we as a nation, because we're kind of the same way as a nation, we've got our ultra liberals and our ultra right wing, and then we've got that big group in the middle.
Correct.
If we can bring those two sides together, the middle will come along. I believe and you tone down Trump and you tone down Bernie and you get them together, because half of their policies are very, very similar.
Very similar, right?
On smaller government, don't get the government so involved, and guns and things like that. But both of them want to save our country. They know how much trouble our country is in. There's a side of me that keeps coming back to this idea that this is all being done on purpose. And then at some point they're going to reject both parties. They'll come together, and that will bring the nation together as one.
Yeah.
And and have Bernie handle all the social issues that we have, and have Trump handle all the business and all the negotiations that we need to do, and bring them together as one. But the kind of environment that could happen would be an implosion of the monetary system, which I believe is coming between now and November.
I find it incredibly remarkable, right? When you look at, I've never in my life have seen, on the Democrat side with the left and the Republicans on the right, two candidates that are both drawing massive amounts of people, that are both firebrands, that, I've said so many times, hey, Trump supporters and Sanders supporters they have a lot in common. They have a lot in common. I like the fact that, Sanders, he's in favor of Glass-Steagall and reinstating Glass-Steagall and how important that is,
And they both want to destroy the monetary system. Trump wants to do it by, renegotiating the U.S. debt.
Correct.
And Sanders wants to do it by, giving trillions of dollars to the people. Both scenarios would destroy the monetary system. And then where do we end up? Then we're going to end up with a situation where there is no more money, because the banks have collapsed, and everybody, even nations, keep their money in banks.
Right.
And you're going to have a situation where you're going to have to reallocate money to the people. How do you do that? Who's the deciders in that scenario? Alan Greenspan had a great suggestion, which was, in the U.S., use the Social Security system. What people have paid into Social Security to date to allocate the new money. That way, the people who've worked the longest and the hardest and done the best will get the most, and those who haven't, but they won't get too much, because Social Security is capped at whatever $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
you stop paying Social Security. I think that's why they were doing it, because this plan of Greenspan's been going since the early 70s that I talked about on the Road to Ruta, and that was his plan. Use the Social Security system, but he didn't know, from the documents that I've analyzed, he didn't really know if the people would accept something like that. They might just say, hey, no, everybody gets the same amount. Everybody gets $10,000 flat. You own your house, you own your car, because there's no more banks, there's no more debt. And everybody will get, $10,000 in a gold-backed currency, or obviously it would have to be some kind of backed currency, or even
silver-backed
coin.
Yeah.
Silver-backed to gold. I do think it'll be, I think the people will choose. I think the people will say, well, I'm going to use gold. I'm going to use silver. And I know that the U.S. has been hoarding a lot of gold and silver for about 50 years. And the U.S. Mint has been hiding it. And I think they will be ready for a transition, because they've been working on this for a hell of a long time, at least since the since they took out Kennedy back in the 60s. And, that was kind of the invention of computer programming and the market rigging that got into place in the 70s.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So how do you see this whole thing playing out, man? Like, in the next coming couple of months?
I see it. Well, I think it's playing out right now. And you're seeing if I were to tell you a year ago that you would see the destruction, the planned destruction of both political parties, you would have said, you're crazy. That'll never happen.
It's happening.
And now look at it. These both parties are not going to survive. When Bernie Sanders gets to that convention and he's got the population on his side and the majority of the votes, and Hillary Clinton pulls out her super delegates just to win the race, you're going to see fireworks. And if they try to mess with Trump has already announced that he is not going to release who he's going to choose for vice president.
Right, which I find to be odd because it's taking quite a bit of time. He's clearly the nominee. Why is he not announcing as of yet?
There's a little thing. There's a little problem with the rules on the Republican side, because although the delegates are bound to vote for Trump, half of them are not Trump loyalists, but they have placed themselves there. And so on the second vote, if there goes to a second vote, they can vote for whoever they want. And they'll vote for Cruz or whoever the Republicans want in there. The other thing is that although the delegates are bound to vote for Trump as president, they're not bound to vote for his vice president, and both need votes. So they could nominate Trump because they have to, and then kick his vice president out.
Got it. Okay.
Just to piss him off. Or say he chooses, Bernie Sanders gets kicked out of the Democrats, all pissed off, and Trump says, "Hey, Bernie, why don't you come run with me, and we'll destroy this, both parties." Then the Republicans can use their Trump card, so to speak, and kick out his vice presidential nominee.
Got it.
There's a lot of scenarios going down right now.
I mean, multiple scenarios, man. We could war game this thing. It's unbelievable. I mean, like I said before, man, I've never seen two candidates emerge from both sides of the aisle that have such a huge following, filling out stadiums and massive amounts of crowds and passionate individuals. I mean, literally, it's like you have what they've done. If they could pull this off, what Trump and Sanders has done is basically combine the Tea Party with Occupy Wall Street.
Yep.
That's exactly what they've done.
Yep. And right now it doesn't seem like they can meld together. But if you throw in a little monetary implosion where everybody loses their checking account, savings account, 401k, all that, with the implosion of Deutsche Bank, I mean, Deutsche Bank will bring it all down, $75 trillion in derivatives. If you throw that in the mix, that's the kind of environment that could easily see Americans, giving up their staunch left and staunch right position and kind of saying, "Hey, what are we going to do?" And it gets back to join or unite. Unite or die. Unite or die.
Right.
Join or die. What is it?
Join or die, man.
Join or die. Join or die. That's it. But if the American people can unite around a common cause, and that common cause is kicking out the bankers, kicking out the politicians, kicking out the political parties, I can see everybody, 330 million, including the illegal aliens.
Sure.
I can see them all coming together, and I can see everybody getting a little bit of what they want, but it will take some kind of psychological bartering with yourself, which won't happen if the system is still in place. But it will happen if the system is destroyed, because you need the Bernie Sanders type of, "Hey, we got to take care of the people," and you need the Trump side that says, we got to rebuild jobs and rebuild business, and you put those two together in a destroyed system, and you have a shot to rebuild things.
Right. Exactly. Especially if you're able to reissue currency, have it gold backed or silver backed or whatever.
Well, it wouldn't be a reissue because all the currency would be gone.
Right. Okay.
It's all held at the banking level.
Yeah.
So if you have the
It'd
way
be a new currency. It'd be a new dollar.
Yeah. It'd be a new currency. It'd be go back to the Constitution. $1 is defined as an ounce of silver. So many grains of silver. That's that's the definition. That's it hasn't been repealed as far as I know.
Yep, correct. I mean, $1 is 32 grains of silver, 34 grains of silver, I think.
Yeah. I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
I wrote an article about it a long time ago.
Got it.
So yeah, that's kind of where I see it going. So what does that mean for like the economy between now and the election? I think it means we're going to have some serious problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call it the implosion. And you can't have a bank, a too big to fail bank, fail. You know, there's a reason they call them too big to fail. The
Mm-hmm.
reason is it goes back to Hank Paulson going in front of Congress and telling congressmen, we have 30 minutes to sign this bill or everyone will lose everything.
Right.
And it's true, because you're not just losing the money of that single bank. You're losing all the people who've invested in that bank, all the people who use that bank. And those banks have so many dealings with other banks. And it goes down the line, and it'll take a matter of days for, you'll see Deutsche Bank, go down, and then Citibank, and then JP Morgan. And then all of a sudden the people start going to their bank to get their money out, which is, it's a wonderful life all over again. And you're ripping your money out, and you figure out that the banks don't have it, and your ATM doesn't work, and your checking and savings and your 401k and everything is frozen.
Yeah.
Because these banks have lost it. With leveraged lending, you're lending what, 10, 15 to 1, right? You have tier 1 capital of 6, 7, 8%. And then you create the money out of thin air and you lend it out. It's great when it goes up because you're making 15 times the money. When it comes down, you're losing 15 times. That's the power, the reverse power of leverage lending.
Absolutely 100% correct. Absolutely 100% correct, man. What do you think? I mean, one of the things I do sense also is that, quote unquote, the bad guys, the scumbags who are right now on the ropes, scurrying into their dark crevices from wherever they, wherever they, crawled up from.
I think it's the opposite. I think they were in their dark crevices, and there's a light being shown on them now.
Yes, right. You're right about that. Let me rephrase it. Light's being shown on them. What are these guys going to do in their desperation? It's one of those things I always think about, man. It's what are they going to do in their desperation? Will they pull something off? I know there's a lot of foreboding data coming out. There's a lot of chatter, especially for this fall.
Stuff?
Yeah, especially for this fall.
Yeah, that's what they've always done. You go back to every presidential assassination, every terrorist attack, every false flag. It all is spun out of the bad guys are starting to get in trouble and they need something. So boom, they'll do 9/11, or they'll blow up a subway, or it's always the same scenario.
Yeah.
It never happens when they're going and blowing. I always tell my friends, have you ever seen banker resignations when things are great? No, they and banker suicides. No, they all happen when right before it is shown that they've blown up their little empire.
Well, Bix, I mean, the bankers have committed suicide because, they are having a lot of pressure at their jobs. That's what it was.
Poor guy.
I mean, sometimes I feel like shooting myself with a nail gun 8 times.
That's right. That's right. Well, eight nails hit him. They think like 4 nails missed. So the last 4 missed.
Hey, can you imagine that? Ow! That didn't work. Ow! That didn't work.
I'm a lousy shot. Oops, sorry.
Lousy shot. And the other guy who, drowned with 3 inches of water. It happens all the time. I mean, job pressure, right?
Like I said last night, I think I told you, I want to go to that island where, Bernie Madoff will go, and, when they die and they cremate their bodies, and, Scalia's probably there with Ken Lay. Yeah, they're all hanging out on some island. It's probably the island owned by that Jeffrey Epstein guy.
It's probably Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island. That's what it is.
He has an island and a 747 that he used. I think Bill Clinton had 28 rides on a plane to go to the guy's out. Just brutally criminal and just so slimy, and all that stuff needs to come out, and people need to know what we're dealing with here.
And people need to get guys like Jeffrey Epstein and skin him alive.
Yeah, I'm surprised he made it this far.
It's unreal, man. Unreal. These guys are sick. Absolutely sick. But, all these things are coming out for a reason. And the best part, I think one of the biggest tantamount signs that, people that are on our side, that are awake, that are fighting this whole entire thing, is that we're winning is look how the concept of globalism has backfired. You see the rise of the nation states all over the world, man.
Well, I think it's part of the plan because when you crash the system, it's got to affect everybody.
Yeah.
So in 2008, they attempted to crash the system. I think that was the good guys' plan. Take down Bear Stearns, take down Lehman, crash the system, and then all this stuff will happen. Well, they stopped it. They went to Congress, and Congress gave them a bailout. And the reason they gave them a bailout, first of all, it happened on the second vote, not the first vote. The first vote, Congress actually said no, we're not going to bail you out, and the stock market dropped 50%. I think the reason they bailed out the banks was that the people weren't ready yet. We weren't smart enough in 2008.
No.
But I think we are now. Look at all the movies, The Big Short and all these movies that are coming out right now.
Oh, the new one with Clooney, Money Monster or something like that?
Oh, that's going to be perfect timing. You can't plan this stuff out better. And I think it all is, truthfully, I think it is all being planned out.
Yeah, it really is, man.
But it needs to be. It has to be. People have to be awake when this transition comes, because if you're not, you're going to turn to your government to help you. And that is not a good thing. That's totalitarianism. How many executive orders has Obama written? And why do we even have executive orders?
Yeah, it should be bad.
Where in the Constitution it says, hey, you're the president can write orders to tell people to do things without it being an official law? It's not in the Constitution.
Well, it's like the stupid IRS, man. They rule by statutes. Our statutes say, well, show me the law. But our statutes say, show me the law.
It's such a hard fight. And they got so many.
The biggest badge, man. That's what it is. They got the biggest badge.
And all the judges are on their side. And,
I love it when they take it like tax court, right? It's not even part of the judicial arm. It's part of the executive.
Yeah.
They have no authority to do anything, but they flash the biggest badge and people get scared.
Yeah, but all that's coming out now, which is great. The internet has been the worst thing for these criminals.
Oh my
because
God,
we're able to. I'm surprised they haven't cut us off already. We're able to do this. We're able to get the word out and tell the people, hey, it's time to open your eyes. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard to think that 9/11 wasn't the 19 hijackers. I know it's going to take some stretching of your mind, and the word conspiracy theory is not it's not a bad word. It won't hurt you to think differently. But they're waking up slowly but surely. I think, and I've always said this: the moment everybody wakes up is the moment they go to their ATM and they can't get any money out.
Yeah, exactly. And then the $16, $17 silver, instantaneously it's gone, and you can't get it, and it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Yep.
$1,000. Same thing for gold as well. It's time is a luxury. People want to move into hard assets, man. Time is a luxury that we don't really have much of in order to do that.
Well, no. Well, yeah. If you haven't done your 401k transfers into or IRA transfers to physical metal, you got to get on that quick, because stock market is not going to be much higher, but it takes like a month or two to do all that.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done it. I've had many. You can go to my website and there's a link to Perpetual Assets. They're the guys I use, and they were great. And it's so fast. And then instead of a piece of paper you get every month that shows you how much electronic blips you have in your account, you can have physical silver in your vault, in your hiding place, up in the Adirondack Mountains where mine is.
Right. Yeah, the most amazing thing also, it's I hear stories with people all the time. Hey, V, I'm trying to get money out of such and such brokerage firm. It's taking forever, and we can't figure out why. I'm like,
you got to yell and scream.
Because they don't have it. They've collateralized it out,
or they never bought it in the first place. I did a big talk for the the History Channel. Flew me down to LA to talk about the DTCC vault that got flooded, and how when brokerage houses, you pay for stocks, they don't actually go buy them. They gamble your money away, and then if you ever try to settle up, they'll go buy the stock and they'll give it to you, or they'll give you some cash. But you just look at the volumes of trades on all markets, and you'll see that there's no way that these trades are being settled. Settled meaning transfer of money, signed documents, exchange of ownership.
Mm-hmm.
they're not being settled, and they
No,
haven't been settled since the invention of computers.
correct.
And
There's,
that's what
there's
the
no buyer
DTC.
on the other
Yeah,
end.
that's why Blythe Masters is trying to get her version of the blockchain, and she's selling it to the DTCC to use as their, kind of. I don't even know what she's trying to sell them because she's so criminal. I just her
Blythe scares me.
Makes my skin crawl. She
Dude,
was the big promoter of credit default swaps, and then they
course.
put her in charge of the silver derivatives at JP Morgan when they did the silver slam from 50, brought it up to 50 and slammed it. I know so many people who were financially destroyed by that move of Blythe Masters, Jamie Dimon, and Bill Daley. They need to go in front of the People's Silver Commission, which I will be heading one day, and we will skin them alive with physical silver.
There you go.
How angry I am,
dude. I fear no man, but Blythe scares me. That woman is
the name Blythe.
Blythe. It's like a comic book villain. Blythe.
It sounds like what's that? Like a Harry Potter villain.
Yeah, it really does, man. It sounds like a
or Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Blythe. Who's behind this evil? Blythe Masters.
And everybody in the Bitcoin world was scared when they heard Blythe Masters and Larry Summers are now, diving into Bitcoin. I'm like, I don't care. Bitcoin is fine on its own. If they can't survive Masters and Summers, then Bitcoin's got a problem.
Right.
Bitcoin will be fine.
Bitcoin will be fine.
They'll try to do their crap, and Bitcoin will laugh it off.
Exactly, because the whole thing is this. I mean, for Blythe to create her own blockchain with Summers, JPM tried, like, at least, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago. About 5 years ago, they tried to come out with a Bitcoin, a Bitcoin of their own, a cryptocurrency of their own. Didn't go nowhere.
Well, because it's a trust thing. If you have to trust with Bitcoin, you don't have to trust anybody. You trust the system.
Correct.
With the Blythe Masters coin or the JB Diamond coin, you got to trust them. and it ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry. You had your chance and you blew it.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of Bitcoins, you're the Jamie Dimon coin. Oh my God!
There's so many of them now. It's crazy how many. I have Bitcoin and some Ether coin, but that's about it. And everybody's like, "Oh, you should do this coin, this coin." Truthfully, I have a little bit of both, and just because I think it's a good idea, but I'd rather have physical silver because all that other stuff will make my head spin about how that's all going to work.
Dude, it gets complicated after a while, man. I mean, I love the fact that you could use it as a vehicle for transactions. That's it.
Oh yeah, overseas transactions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you think about it, countries will be when the banks crash, countries won't have any way of transferring money either. So Bitcoin will be a great way for countries to transfer billions and billions, if not trillions. And right now, it's Jamie Dimon and the SWIFT system transferring trillions of dollars out of their Florida office, supposedly.
Yeah.
So that'll be gone. SWIFT will be gone, and why not use Bitcoin? It's you don't have to rely on anybody.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. The other thing is the Fed wire will cease to exist, which will be a good thing. And I think, you're absolutely right. It's going to be cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of creative opportunities that are emerging. If people would just stop being fearful and start looking for opportunities and being creative, there's a great many things that people could do to really leverage and benefit from what is to come. I mean, don't you think so?
Oh, definitely. And the key difference of what we have now versus what is going to happen in the future is openness and honesty.
Yeah.
Right now, the banking system cannot survive without deception and deceivery, if that's a word. Yeah. But it's going to be completely different. The Fed chair doesn't have to go in front of Congress and lie. The Fed chair can go there won't be a Fed chair, but the Treasury chairman can come in front of Congress and tell them the truth. And Greenspan doesn't have to lie to the people about what's really happening by throwing out a bunch of big words and gobbledygook. He can tell people the truth, and that was the problem that made the system so corrupt. Is that so many lies were told over the years. We need truth, we need honesty going forward, and we need all the sins of the past to be revealed. Then we can move forward.
Maybe that's why they put Janet Yellen there, because she has that that grandmotherly look.
I think she's like a sock puppet. Truthfully.
Yeah, of course she is, man. She looks like a football with clipped hair.
Stanley Fisher's the guy. He's the number 2 guy, that the assistant chairman.
Yeah, so he's the one who runs the show.
Yeah, he's the ex-head of the Israeli central bank. Yep. What in the world is the ex-head of the Israeli central bank doing at right at the top of our central bank? Why do all these dual citizenship people get into high places in our government? Now this has got to end. If you're American, you're American. If you're Israeli, you're Israeli. If you want to be both, we won't let you choose one.
They're just they're ethnically identifying as both. That's what it is.
Well, criminally rigging the entire world is the problem.
Oh, dude, totally, bro. Totally. I mean, Yellen is the perfect sock puppet. I mean, she's a great proxy when something goes pop.
Yeah, it looks like a sock puppet, too.
Dude, she has no clue. It's like she has this glazed over look, deer in the headlights look that she has on her face. Just clueless. Like, just doesn't get it.
I met her once in San Francisco. I don't know if I told you. I met her once.
I think you did tell me. But go ahead and explain that to the audience if they haven't heard it before.
Yeah, it was. She gave a speech. It was an economic speech. She was the head of the San Francisco Fed at the time. She had just been appointed. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but yeah, it was like I was talking to her and I asked her, and everybody was asking questions because it was a small audience. She didn't have the kind of pulse she does now. But I asked her, I go, what do you think will go on with, China? We're shipping all our jobs over there. And she's like, oh, no, China will never come out of, they're a third world country. They'll stay a third world country. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. What do you think about all this money printing that we're doing? And, don't you think people will go into gold? And she's, oh, no, gold has nothing to do with the monetary system anymore. I'm like, oh, great. You're either lying, which I knew she was, or you're just an idiot, which I knew she was also. And
she's a lying idiot. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
That's who you got to have in charge.
She's just a sock puppet. She nods a lot.
Exactly. While Stanley Fisher makes it out of the back end,
Man, that guy's evil. That guy and the lawyer. I forgot the head legal counsel for the Fed. He's a criminal as well. I remember he was getting grilled in front of Congress, and they said they were talking about auditing Fort Knox and auditing the Fed, and Ron Paul had asked him a question or something, and he's like, you can do an audit.
Scott Alvarez.
Yes, Scott Alvarez.
That dude is like the Sith Lord.
Yeah. Well, I would say the Sith Lord is. Wait, what is this? Is that the worst guy?
Yeah, it's one of the dark side of the Force.
That would be Stanley Fisher. Yeah. You can't get darker than that.
No, Stanley Fisher's definitely this guy's like the Darth Maul.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he throws out the legal. Well, you can audit the gold, but you can't do we can show you the gold, but we won't show you any paper trails of all the rehypothecation that's been done with that gold.
Unbelievable, man. What a pair this guy has.
Yeah.
What a pair!
It goes back again to the Exchange Stabilization Fund and the Working Group on Financial Markets. That is their job: maintain market stability and maintain investor confidence.
The dirty ESF, man. They got their hands in like so many pies. It's ridiculous.
The funny thing is they are the big derivative. Because you look at the banks and they have, it's estimated a couple $100 trillion in derivatives. But they're saying the derivative market is in the quadrillions.
Right.
Well, it's the Exchange Stabilization Fund and the IMF that have all the derivatives because they don't have to report to anybody.
Correct. It's all dark money.
Oh yeah. And they don't have to report it to anybody, and nobody has to know about it. But what it does, it maintains market stability and it maintains investor confidence.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what it's all about, man. Maintaining the faith.
No matter how wrong the numbers are.
Exactly. Well, brother, man, we got about 5 minutes, man. Anything you want to say?
Working on my 4th book.
Nice. What's it called?
It's called The Silver Lining.
Nice.
And I think it's going to come out right at the right time. I should have it done by June. If you go to my site, the first book is free. It's called Silver, Gold, Bitcoin, and God.
Nice.
And it's a free download. Just anybody who wants to download it, It's written in the Conversations with God style that was pretty popular back 10, 15 years ago. But it is all about the stuff we're talking about tonight, and really trying to get to a point where we take the veil off everybody's eyes as far as the financial system. Because I mean, I get it that not many people understand derivatives and central banking and how the game works, but more people are really coming to get it, to understand it, because it's not rocket science. It might sound like rocket science at times, but it really isn't. And once you understand that the base foundation of all this is fraud and electronic money, you'll get the bigger picture, which is, run this thing until it blows up and then start fresh.
Right, exactly. You know, the most beautiful thing about this whole thing is when these guys for so many decades, the bad guys have been pushing for this electronic thing, this, electronic digital, chip, this, that, and the other, globalization, and the end of culture, the end of language, the end of religion, the end of this, the end of that. It's all blown up in their faces, man.
Yep.
It's the end of electronic money. When this thing goes pop, who in the world, who in their right mind will say, yes, I think digital currency is wonderful. Please implant a chip in my right arm. Who the heck would do that? Nobody would. It's complete. Nobody would want it, man.
But that's where, see, that's the decision that we have to make. When this thing falls apart, will we run into the arms of our government? That's what they would do. They would say, oh, we need to tighten the controls, and we can't have terrorism, and you have to forgive all your paper cash because drug runners use it. That's the kind of thing that we need not to do. We need to say, no, we need to get this federal government out of our lives completely. Go back down to maybe 50 to 100 people in the federal government. Put the states in charge, but make the states accountable to the Constitution. If you do that, and it seems like, a lot of people say, what do you mean? We're already there. No, our federal government is gigantic and has their hands in everything. And the only reason they were able to do that was the electronic money scam.
Yep, exactly. Bix, how can people contact you for all your works, your website?
Well, go to roadtoruta.com. There's a little sign up thing for emails to get my email bursts. I put 2 or 3 out a week lately because it's been busy. And it all has to do with Road to Ruta stuff. And Road to Ruta is a theory I came up with. I will be releasing a new kind of the Dummy's Guide to Road to Ruta coming up in a video, which will walk everybody through how I came to my grand conclusion that they're trying to destroy the system. So yeah, go to roadtoruta.com, sign up, look around there. There's a lot of free stuff you can get, and enjoy the ride.
Definitely, man. It's going to be a hell of a ride. For those of us that are prepared, that don't have our heads up our rear end, or sitting in a corner, freaking out, petrified and scared, wetting our pants while eating cat food in the basement, waiting for the SWAT team to come through the door. There's opportunities to be made. There's work to be done. And we all have to be about our hustle, as they say, right?
That's right.
Exactly, brother. Bix, thank you so much for being on, man. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I had no idea what happened. It's just they just don't like you. That's what it is, bro.
They love me too much.
They love it. They love you too much, man. That's what it is.
Well, thanks for the airtime, and it was great fun, and hopefully we can get this out to a lot of people.
Yes, definitely, bro. Let me know when if you have a link or whatnot, send it over to me. I'll plug it on Rogue Money so that people could download it over there as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Dude, it's always fun. You are the man, bro.
All right, V, you take it easy.
Take care, my friend. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, folks, there goes Bix. And I want to thank all you guys for listening in onto the show tonight. I know we had some technical issues earlier in the beginning. I cannot fathom why. It was so ridiculously weird. Definitely the show is being messed with at some sort of level. There's some weird stuff happening, but it is what it is. We're going to keep rocking and rolling. We're going to be doing what we do best, which is basically spread information, truth, and solutions, folks, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So this is V, the Guerrilla Economist. And one more time, I'll tell you guys, listen, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. We're putting out a lot of important Guerrilla updates, and soon, once we have everything up and running, all the other contributors for Rogue Money, they'll be on here as well. sharing their thoughts and their analysis of what's going on with the economy, the market, and geostrategic politics to begin with. And also check out roguemoney.net. I think this Sunday, Greg Hunter is going to be putting up my interview that Greg interviewed me. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's a video interview. I don't show my face. I eventually will. For all those that are wondering, I will be coming out, and revealing who I am. So it's going to be pretty fun. So a couple months down the road, you'll see it. I think a lot of amazing things are happening. So check out roguemoney.net. Follow me on Twitter at @TheRogueMoney, the Facebook page Rogue Money, and the Guerrilla Economist Facebook page as well. Thank you, all of you, for listening in. God bless you all. Have a phenomenal, phenomenal weekend. Take care of yourselves and each other. This is the Guerrilla, over and out.